Chapter 50. Hunter woke up feeling restless and thirsty. Soren lived a short walk to the oasis. He had told Hunter the night before that he preferred to lodge in the rock outcroppings away from the spring because various creatures would come to the spring during the night, and most of them were suspicious of him. They would sooner die of dehydration than the jaws of a werewolf. He didn't want anyone to die because of dehydration. It would cut down on his food supply. And in the desert, good fresh food was not easy to find. Sauron was making something to eat, huddled over a pot that itself was huddled over a fire.
It's a stew of mice and rabako leaves. Quite good, in my opinion. Are you hungry?
I could eat,
Hunter answered, belying his growling stomach.
Mice are the most plentiful food source in this area. There's an occasional desert hare, but they are swift and hard to catch. There's a bird that walks on the ground, hardly ever flies, but like the hare, it's hard to catch. The mice, on the other hand, almost come to you. They're very plentiful. Have you had mice before?
We eat deer where I come from, almost exclusively. Mice are too much trouble to eat. We leave them for the owls.
I see. Well, here you will learn to love them, or you will die of starvation. That much I can tell you. However, to be fair, you look much more fit than I am, so you might be able to catch hares and birds.
He paused for a moment.
I see an asset in my midst.
He bobbed his head and smiled. Soren continued his preparations while Hunter surveyed the land from their rock outcropping.
What about lions?
I've heard them before, but I haven't seen one. They're another reason I don't sleep down at the watering hole.
Soren laughed.
How was your night's sleep?
Restless.
But comfortable?
Enough so. It wasn't the reason for my lack of sleep.
Yes, well, we weren't invented for darkness. You must agree with that?
Invented?
Created, invented, produced, sculpted, fabricated, built, manufactured. There are so many ways to say it. But I like invented. It sounds more mysterious, doesn't it?
Who's the inventor, then?
Hunter inquired.
Well, that's the mysterious part, isn't it?
Soren said, his voice bold and well enunciated.
We are invented by nature in the same way as nature invents everything, from galaxy clusters to a grain of sand or even to you and I. We are invented by the persistent intelligence within nature to evolve. Why do we evolve? Have you thought about that?
Hunter looked distracted as he kept surveying the surrounding landscape.
I can't say that I have.
Well, it's important to contemplate these subjects. It rewires your brain to the big picture. It gives you a reason to live that you hadn't had before. Look at me. I've survived my misfortune, and I have time as my ally. It allows me to look inside, to see what has been unobserved within me and others as well. I know that I am just an appendage of nature, and I'm okay with that. In fact, once you embrace it, you learn to fall in love with it.
So why do we evolve?
Hunter asked quietly, continuing his visual assessment of his new home.
Well, whatever is behind us, inside us, watches us. Would you agree?
Are you talking about God?
No.
Soren shook his head.
I don't believe in that nonsense.
Then what is it?
I told you it's nature. Nature is the thing that is the expression of the larger intelligence that connects everything. If we weren't connected through nature, we would be outside of nature, and what is outside of nature?
Nothing.
Hunter ventured.
Exactly right.
Soren agreed passionately.
Nothing. Do you know what that means?
That nature is everything.
Right again. And if nature is everything and the larger intelligence imbues nature with a desire for expansion, well, in that expansion is a form of evolution, not of the body.
He touched his index finger to his chest and then his head twice.
But of the heart, mind, and imagination. We evolve those elements of ourselves so that larger intelligence can flow through us as individuals.
Why?
Like I said, we're like appendages of nature, or that intelligence that powers nature. If you believe this deep down, then you see all of life as a synchronous movement of space-time ever present in the now in various forms, one of which you wear. In that particular form, talents arise. These talents are embodiments of nature that can be shared. Trees and plants do this through root systems. Animals do this through intraspecies communication protocols. Werewolves do this through life expressions like art, music, writings, inventions, discoveries, and so on. We do this at a level that allows this intelligence of nature to observe itself as something more than instinctual behaviors of a collective species, and more at an individual level of a sovereign. And in doing this, there is the possibility of expressing the sovereign integral.
Which is,
The sovereign is the individual across space-time, and the integral is the awareness of that consciousness steeped in nature and interconnected with all life. We are not dissolved into unity after we die. The part of us that is the whole of us never dies. It always exists in a moment of space-time. The individual sovereign whose arc of expression and awareness is an ascending spiral of consciousness that lives as an expression of nature and the larger intelligence that powers nature itself. When nature can observe itself as a sovereign integral, then it has activated a facet of its intelligence within space-time that holds an awareness of what it truly is, not the illusion of what it is as defined in stories and myths. And this, more than anything else, is what the larger intelligence is working to develop.
how?
Hunter asked.
You have to surrender your right to free will in favor of allowing nature to use you for the larger plan of building a collective unity within planetary spacetime. If one wants to be both an expressionary hub of the sovereign integral state, a co-creator of a network that will span planets and star systems and desires to cement oneself into this endeavor across lifetimes, and, on top of all of that, wants to experience the fullness of life, well, they must surrender to that plan.
And how does that happen?
On a practical level, very gradually.
Soren said.
When I first came to this inhospitable place, my tribe told me in so many words that I was no longer welcome in the tribe. I babbled too much. I was infecting the children with my thoughts and behaviors. They brought me here and told me to stay here or suffer the consequences, and I presumed those consequences ended up with me dying.
He smiled to himself in the reverie of his misfortune.
However, over time, I like the idea of independence. That is the first rule of surrender. You must be independent. You must find your own position on the important facets of life and not become a parrot of some authority figure who presumes to know what is right for you. No one knows what is right for you in a moment of space-time. No one. Nature is synchronous and interactive and, dare I say, playful. It is full of all that is. Every thought, word, and deed is contained within it. It can be a mirror or a visionary screen. It can show you the past and future or focus you in the now as you have never been before. It is this matrix of potential, and its voice speaks through you the more you give it permission by learning how to listen to the momentary infusion of its intelligence through all things in your life.
He shrugged with his palms up.
Even this. It's not an easy perspective to maintain. The good news is that you don't have to. You can fall off into despair anytime you want. You can shake your fist at the heavens and shout your profanity anytime you want, especially here.
He leaned forward, lowering his voice, cupping his right hand around his mouth.
The animals around here are quite familiar and probably bewildered with my rants.
He paused for a while, stirring the mice stew with a stick.
Yet, once you are this vessel and you recognize it and you commit to it, the larger intelligence will take you over. You will sense this not as a replacement of you, but an augmentation of you. It will feel like tailwinds, not in the sense that life becomes easy, but that you become a willfully aligned embodiment of this intelligence of the one, many, and all consciousness.
Soren sat quietly for a while. Hunter was tentative as to what to say. He had never heard anyone speak like this before, even their own shaman, Sun Moon.
What is the second rule of surrender?
Soren perked up a bit, raising his index finger to the sky.
It is commitment.
To what?
To your purpose.
And what if my purpose is to kill things for my tribe?
Well, that is your werewolf purpose, but don't you think the core of you, that thing that outlasts your body, has a purpose too?
The soul?
Yes.
So you believe in the soul but not God. That's confusing.
It isn't to me.
Soren said.
What is God to you?
Hunter lowered his eyes, concentrating on the question and how he could answer it. Words were tricky things, and he had very little experience using words to describe abstract ideas like God or even his soul.
I would say God is the creator of werewolves and this planet. This planet has a soul like each of us, and that soul is God. So God is the soul of our planet.
Do you have any idea how many planets there are in our observable universe?
Hunter shook his head.
More than the grains of sand in this desert. Can there really be that many gods?
I don't know.
Nor do I, but I can imagine God. I can imagine a creator that made not only me but everything in the universe possible, and when I do that, God is only one thing.
And what is that?
It is a form of love, but not the sentimental kind or the kind that motivates us to reproduce. It isn't love that is symbolic either. It is the intelligence that comes from being a singular entity and an interconnected entity at one time. One space, one moment in one place. That is my God. As I said before, be independent, and if you like the idea of God as the soul of our planet, then you are right for you, and leave it at that.
He bobbed his head and looked Hunter in the eyes. Soren suddenly got up as his stew was starting to boil underneath his fire. He poured the mice stew into a makeshift bowl hollowed out from a piece of dead wood.
Try it.
He said, handing the bowl to Hunter. Hunter sipped some cautiously and then tilted the bowl toward his mouth, eating it greedily. He suddenly stopped, holding out the bowl to Soren.
I forgot how hungry I was. I'm sorry. I almost ate it all.
It's okay, I made it for you. Eat it up. I'm pleased you like it.
Hunter finished, handing the empty bowl to Soren.
Thank you. It was very good.
How often do you eat?
Once a week.
Hunter replied.
Sometimes twice.
He added with a wry smile.
Good, that'll be easy to absorb. Around here I eat when I feel like it, and I eat whatever portion I feel like eating. I think if you help with the mouse hunting, we'll manage just fine.
I don't plan to stay.
Hunter said.
I didn't either.
Soren filled the bowl again and handed it to Hunter.
It's yours.
They passed the bowl back and forth 3 times before Hunter held his hand up and shook his head.
I'm full. Thanks again. It was surprisingly excellent. Is there anything else you can tell me about this place?
Hunter asked.
I take sand baths. I never use the watering hole to bathe in. You will need to do the same.
That's not a problem.
Hunter said.
We're not fond of water anyway, at least to bathe in unless it's a shallow stream or river, and even then it is not our first option.
Which is?
We groom one another.
Well, because I was a social aberrant, I wasn't allowed grooming per se. You should have seen me in my prime of aberrance. I was probably a smelly, ghoulish-looking thing that made the stomachs turn in my comrades.
What is your tribe?
We are the desertarians. Our tribe is all over these sand dunes, but we move around a lot. After a few generations, we knew exactly where to find water and food, how to survive, and how to reproduce. We are a resourceful tribe, but we can be very prickly like the cactus, not because we're unfriendly, but because our friendliness has been taken advantage of. So we are very wary.
Do you know my tribe?
I've heard of it.
Do you know how far away it is?
No.
Sauron shook his head and sighed.
I imagine a long way away.